Hello, welcome to this sort of recap or rundown of some of the things that we covered in our speech and debate family information night. The purpose of that, as you can imagine, would be to kind of give you some of the same info that was shared in that meeting, as well as even if you attended the meeting, an opportunity to kind of recap some of those things as well, if that would be helpful. You see the QR code there. You can hold off on that until after you watch this video. You'll see I'll put the QR code up again at the end, along with the link itself will be there in these slides and with the email that you received this video with. So let's go ahead and get started and jump in here together. I'll start by introducing myself and telling you a little bit about me and the other coaches on our team. My name is Mr. Parkwick Millen. I'm the head debate coach here at Carmel High School. I also teach here in the social studies department. This is my fourth year as the debate coach, and so I'm really excited to be back in this position and serving students and families and providing these opportunities for them in speech and debate. Our head speech coach is Mr. Michael McGraw. He is what we call a lay coach, so he's not a teacher here at the high school. He's retired, but he has a tremendous amount of experience competing in speech and debate, going back even 50 years ago, and has been coaching for many years, following his career as in business and in broadcasting as well. And he would tell you firsthand how speech and debate has kind of changed his life and allowed him to meet his wife and raise a family together and all of those different things and the amazing opportunities that it's brought. We're thrilled to have him on board here at the high school. Previously, he's helped out and coached at different high schools around the state over the years, but most recently, he was at Clay Middle School. He helped Dan Patain over there kind of restart the speech and debate program there at Clay Middle School, and it's now easily probably the best middle school program in the state. So we're thrilled to have him helping us out here now at the high school. And then we have another new coach joining us this year, Mr. Derek Williams. He teaches in the English department here at the high school. He's been here at Carmel for about 6 years or so, and he's actually been teaching debate for the past several years, although he's not this year. So it's great to have his experience there. He's also coached in the past as well, so we're grateful to have him on board helping us out on Tuesdays during practice. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about the plan for today's meeting, just give you a brief kind of overview of what we're going to do. I'm going to start by introducing you to our team and what we're all about. We'll then take a brief look at some of the different speech and debate events that we offer, as well as how you can get involved in making these opportunities available for students. And then we'll take a look ahead at our upcoming schedule and how you can consistently access that so that you can stay informed and up to date. So let's talk first about Carmel Speech and Debate, who we are, what we're all about. So we'll start by talking about our mission. Our mission statement you see here, that Carmel Speech and Debate exists to motivate and train students to find and use their voice, engage with the world around them, and become effective and inspiring leaders. So what we provide is the opportunity, first, that motivation for students to get involved. There's nothing like an upcoming competition or something like that we do. The camaraderie of a team and that accountability piece there and student leadership that helps to motivate students to actually participate and to do their best. But we don't just try to motivate students and leave it there. The training is the other big piece there, right? The main way that we provide that is through what we call event heads. Each event, particularly in the debate side and then broadly speaking the various types on the speech side, have what we call event heads. And those event heads are student leaders who have obviously who have been competing in that particular event for multiple years. They obviously have to have demonstrated competitive proficiency in it, of course, but beyond that, perhaps even more important, is that they have the heart and skills of a teacher, that they are motivated and want to train other students how to do their event well. And so that's a huge piece of that. Okay, so we're motivating and train students, but to do what? First is to find their voice. and then next to use their voice. So let's talk about the find piece. We believe that every student has something unique that they have to offer the world around them, right? That they have something unique to bring, a specific perspective, a unique voice that the world needs to hear. And so our goal is to help them to find that unique voice, to find their niche, to help them identify the events that fit best for them, and to get them in touch with the resources that they need to be successful in their journey. And then to use their voice as well. We all know people who have maybe wonderful ideas. Maybe you've worked with somebody who has wonderful ideas, but they're not the strongest communicator. And as a result, what tends to happen? Their ideas oftentimes go ignored or aren't given the credence that they deserve. They're kind of pushed to the side, not because their ideas aren't good, but because they struggle to communicate them effectively. Our goal is to train students to not just develop and use great ideas, but to be able to express them effectively and bring others along with them. And that's the next part there, with engaging with the world around them, right? Whether it's research and finding evidence to prepare for one side or the other in debate, whether it's researching current events or researching different topics or specific cultural issues for an informative speech or an original oratory in speech, or whether it's preparing an interpretive speech and connecting with various characters, understanding the emotion behind and analyzing a piece of writing or a piece of literature and in order to embody those characters and connect and understand more about the human condition. All of these are forms of connecting with the world around them, and that's what we train and help students be able to do. And finally, the last piece here is becoming effective and inspiring leaders. And this is what I would ask you to judge the success of our team on. How successful are we at taking students and training them how to motivate and use their voice, engage with the world around them, but most importantly, become effective and inspiring leaders? Leadership is really all about influence, right? Can you convince others can you cast a vision that they can understand and that they can get on board with, and then can you bring them along the way and provide that influence, that inspiration to others to go along with you? Can you turn a no into a yes? Can you push open doors that maybe previously were closed and bring others along with you through that door behind you? That's what we hope our students are able to do. And again, I would ask you to judge us by our student leadership, not just our formal leadership like our event heads or an executive leadership, although certainly they demonstrate this well, but really all of our students, whether in a formal leadership position or not, our hope is that as they come through our program, that they're meeting these goals, they're becoming effective, inspiring leaders to those around them, leaving every person, place, and thing better than they found it. All right, so that's the big picture of our philosophy. Let's talk about the practice, what it looks like in the nitty-gritty. So we are a school-sponsored club that meets every Tuesday. School-sponsored means that we essentially have different supports that the school district provides for us. Those would be things like the ability to use the school building for our practices, the ability to use school transportation to tournaments and things like that. That are very helpful for us. As you see there, we meet every Tuesday for practices in the CHS Media Center. So that's where we'll meet and gather. We start with announcements and then break up into the different groups. There might be other dates and things that if students are mocking for a position or in a practice debate for a position, or they're getting together with their teammates, or they're meeting with leadership for a work session or something like that. But those are scheduled individually by students. But altogether, we meet on Tuesdays. We are a top 200 speech and debate school in the nation with the National Schools, or the National Speech and Debate Association, rather. And just this year, we achieved what is called charter status. That is the highest school status that a school can achieve in the National Speech and Debate Association, or NSDA. I'll talk more about that later. But we're incredibly proud of this. What this means is that our students have earned a certain number of points through competition and through service And that status takes into account the size of the school as well. So with a school the size of ours here at Carmel High School, that is a tremendous accomplishment to be able to reach. And so we're incredibly proud of that and glad that we have met that charter status. On the debate side, we are 3 times national champions, going into my 4th year here. So I've experienced 3 states. We've won 2, and we're runner-up 2 years ago. We're the reigning state debate champions, and even the year before I came on board, the program that had been built up to the point where they achieved their first state debate championship since the 1980s. So really, really impressive with this kind of new phase of the program here, and thrilled to be a part of that. Our speech program is incredibly new, a little bit newer than the debate side. We just restarted that again 4 years ago when I first came on board, and we're glad to have more experienced coaches and such with that now to help grow that program. We've already laid a solid foundation through previous coaches, but we're excited to see that speech program grow year after year, and we hope to get it up to that same point where our debate program currently is, where we're consistently competing for one of the top spots in the state, and we have full confidence that we can get there over the next few years. Our season overall, when you take both speech and debate into account, essentially the travel competition season essentially goes from October to March. October to January, the end of January, is the debate season. And then speech kind of, it really ramps up really in December and January and ends in March with the state speech tournament. There'll be a few other speech tournaments kind of sprinkled in that first semester, as well, as you'll see when we get to our calendar in just a little bit. You can find more information about our team at carmelspeechanddebate.com. Great resource for a lot of the different things I'm going to be showing you throughout the presentation today. All right, let's talk a little bit more about the why, right? Why you should choose speech and debate, or I guess another way to phrase this for parents and caregivers would be why you should encourage your child's participation and continue to encourage them throughout. Well, the first reason I'll give you is just simply that your child is passionate about it, right? Your child has already demonstrated that they are excited to be part of a team and part of an activity that is a very academically rigorous, requires a lot of time and research, a lot of extra work, a lot of time outside of the classroom and outside of school in an incredibly beneficial activity that has tremendous benefits. And so that in and of itself is something I think, first of all, as a parent and caregiver, you should be proud that your child has already demonstrated that sort of initiative. And I think you should be doing everything you can to encourage that, even when it gets hard, right? That you're encouraging students to participate and to keep up the good work. The next reason I'll give you is that, of course, what students are going to get out of it. And that is building skills for high school, college, the workplace, and life itself, right? We'll talk a lot about some of the benefits and things like that. You'll see that time and time again with various competition events and just the preparation that students are putting in. It obviously looks great. Participation in speech and debate looks great on college applications. And I want to say beyond simply just being able to put on there, hey, I participated in speech and debate. That's great. But some of those stories and some of the experiences that your child is going to have through this, for the vast majority of students, ends up being one of the most impactful and transformative parts of their high school career. And so to be able to talk about some of the ways that they've grown, some of the ways that they've overcome challenges, some of the ways that they have embraced opportunities for leadership, both formally and informally, those are phenomenal things to be able to include in genuine experiences, to be able to include in those college applications that will help your child stand out. We're doing all of this in a very positive team environment. We're not necessarily competitive against one another within the team, right? Our goal on the team is to build one another up. The goal of the event heads and the veteran leadership on the team is to make everyone, what we call those novices, those new students that are joining us and first starting in speech and debate, is to make them better, right? To help them get better and to learn these skills so that we as a team as a whole can succeed and that each individual person and team can succeed as well. We save the competitive spirit for those actual competitions themselves, those tournaments or meets that we go to on Saturdays and where we're competing against other schools. And finally, the final major benefit or reason why I think you should encourage and be a part of this activity is that it is a relatively inexpensive and flexible activity where you get all of these benefits on top of it. So relatively inexpensive. Our dues are $50 for the entire year. And that's going to cover the vast majority of expenses that your child will accrue. So that would be simply our transportation to tournaments and participation in those tournaments and covering those entry fees and things like that. Paying for their National Speech and Debate Association paid membership, which in and of itself is $20 if you purchase it separately. So that in and of itself comes along with that. The only additional expenses that students might incur are when we're traveling to tournaments. At the tournaments themselves, schools will provide and sell concessions to students in order to help cover the costs of the tournament, usually at very low and reasonable cost to students. They're not marking that up. Sometimes schools are still even losing money even by hosting a tournament. So if we can help offset that by purchasing those concessions, that helps support the activity as a whole. So there's an expense, a slight expense there. And then if on those travel tournaments, if we're returning from over an hour away, if we've traveled over an hour away, we'll usually stop for dinner. On the way home, we'll stop at a fast food restaurant. So students would be on their own for that. If they don't bring their own food or something like that. So those are the only additional expenses that students might incur during a regular tournament season. If they qualify for the national tournament and attend nationals, there are, of course, additional expenses to go along with that trip since we have to fly there, stay in a hotel, and things like that. But even with that, we try to keep those as reasonable as possible to allow students to participate. So relatively inexpensive activity. It's also extremely flexible as well. We don't require members, anybody who wants to join our team and signs the code of conduct and pays their dues is a member of our team. We don't require them to attend any minimum number of practices or all of our tournaments or even any minimum number of tournaments. Essentially students can participate in as much or as little as they like. Now, we strongly encourage students to participate as much as they can, to come to every practice that they're available for, to come to as many tournaments as they want and as many as they're available for, because the more you put into it, like anything, right, the more you're going to get out, the faster you're going to get better, the higher your ceiling is, the more you put into it. But ultimately, we recognize that students are busy. You have a lot going on. There's all sorts of different amazing extracurricular activities that are available here at Carmel High School. We want ours to be a flexible one, but if we find that those that prioritize it the most, of course, get the most out of it. You've heard me mention the National Speech and Debate Association, or NSDA, a few times. The NSDA is the preeminent speech and debate association in the world. It's now just turned 100 years old, founded in 1925. And so this past Nationals, we celebrated the 100th anniversary of the NSDA. It has over 150 student members and over 2 million alumni, some of which you see there on that poster and faces that you might recognize. More students participate in speech and debate than participate in basketball in our country. It is a massive, massive activity. Their annual national tournament is the largest academic competition in the United States. I believe over 6,000 students participated this last year, along with 500 some schools, if I remember, or 600 some schools, if I remember correctly, if my numbers are right there. It's a awesome opportunity for our students to be able to compete against the best of the best. If they want to be the best, they've got to compete with the best. And so we make it our goal every year to qualify as many students as possible to the national tournament. And to be able to take as many as possible to nationals so that they get that opportunity. All right. Let's talk next about each of the two kind of major parts to our team. We are speech and debate, so I'm going to talk about each of those since they work a little bit differently in some of the different categories that they fall into. And I'll start with speech. We can put speech into three major categories, although within these there are multiple different events that students can participate in. So I'll start with the first one, which is public address, also known as platform speeches. These are events like original oratory, informative, declamation, and things like that. There's a big focus on public speaking skills, research. Some have a more persuasive element, some more informative, but great activities there that are very popular. Next is interpretation. Interpretation events are closer to like acting, where students are usually portraying multiple characters, kind of acting out a scene, but without props and makeup and costumes and all of that. So there's a huge focus on characterization, embodying and portraying those characters effectively. There's an emphasis on communication of a theme, the effectiveness of the desired emotional response, a wide variety of interpretation events available to students. There's humorous interpretation, dramatic interpretation, duo interpretation, where they're working with and playing off of a partner. There's program oral interpretation, where students are putting together a program that mixes prose and poetry and even nonfiction sources and things like that. To go along with those. There's prose and poetry as individual categories, original performance where students are writing their own material. Really cool events available there in the interp main type. And then finally, again, a broad type that we'll refer to as limited prep, where students don't have, where there's some form of extemporaneous delivery. So these would be things like international and U.S. extemporaneous speaking. Two different categories there, where students are given a question on a current event that requires an opinion answer of some kind. They have 30 minutes to research and write research that current event and write a speech that's 7 minutes long that they deliver from memory. So really cool event there. There's also focus on artifact analysis in some events, such as discussion. Discussion functions as a roundtable discussion or Socratic seminar, where students are given an article or an artifact, like a piece of art or something like that they're analyzing and answering specific discussion questions on together and collaborating and discussing in that way. There's impromptu speaking as well. And broadcasting, where students, some of it is pre-written, like a newscast that they write themselves, and some is on the spot or writing a commercial and delivering a commercial, and those broadcasting skills there. So there's a focus on current events, artifact analysis, extemporaneous organization delivery, similar, sort of judged similarly to some of those public address or platform speeches, but obviously in just a kind of a different metric since it is more extemporaneous. On the debate side, there are 6 different debate events, 5 that we compete in regularly. I won't talk about each one individually because I think I would probably take too much time going through each one and would be yapping for far too long. So I'll just give you a broad overview that debate is persuasive arguing about real-world issues, generally current event issues, sometimes more philosophical ones, just depending on the particular event. Students will research and build cases for both sides of a topic. I love this aspect, where students are forced to essentially consider both sides of every issue and actually research and build as strong of a case as possible for both sides, because at most tournaments, they're going to be competing multiple times, usually on each side of that topic. And so that's a really cool skill for them to get that well-rounded point of view on these various topics. Debate rounds are highly structured in that each speech has a particular time limit, very specific time limit, and a very specific purpose or goal for that speech and things that students should do within that speech. But within those boundaries then is a tremendous amount of creativity as to how students go about that. So I love that aspect of it. So the way it works is that both speech and debate compete outside of school at these all-day Saturday meets, tournaments, competitions. You'll hear those terms used interchangeably, and those will be across the state of Indiana. So the maximum amount, we have a lot this year that are here in kind of the central Indiana area, which is really great. And then, but some that are up closer to northern Indiana, a few down closer to Evansville and things like that, where some of our best competition up in northern Indiana, particularly on the debate side. So, 2.5, 3 hours max is about the furthest that we travel. Most, though, are either local or within 2 hours or so. And at those meets, at those tournaments, the judging panels are mostly made up of parents and coaches. They're the ones that choose the winners. And I should say that this is where you come in and how we could use your help. All right, so let's talk about some ways that you can help us make these opportunities available to students. I want to emphasize again that we cannot do what we do here at Carmel Speech and Debate without your help. It is truly a team effort, right? A collaborative effort between coaches and parents and students to make these opportunities available. So some ways that you can be involved. We don't do a lot of fundraising. Our dues generally cover those and keep our expenses low, which we're grateful for. And also, of course, the times when you would most be likely to fundraise would be Saturdays, and that's when we're competing, right? So, but occasionally we'll do something like a dine to donate or something like that. So if you can participate and help in that and help spread the word on those, that's a wonderful thing that you can help us out with. Occasionally we like to host just social celebrations, right? Usually the last tournament before winter break, maybe one in the spring and things like that when our season wraps up. So if you can help by hosting some of those celebrations, either in your home or another event space, and you want to be a part of that planning, you want to be kind of the fun party house of speech and debate. Those are things that we've really enjoyed doing in the past and that parents have enjoyed helping out with. We are hosting a tournament here at Carmel High School. Last year was our first time doing that. This is our district debate tournament, which will be held on Saturday, January 24th here at Carmel High School. And last year was our first time hosting that. We had a lot of parent help and support, and as a result, it went very smoothly. Our district committee was very impressed, and they have asked us to host again. And so we're grateful to have the opportunity to host again. That district tournament is kind of the central Indiana region. Really, it's two districts together that we host here. And this is the national qualifying tournament. This is how students qualify for nationals. So if you can help us with that, either organizing or providing food for the judges, or organizing and providing food to sell as concessions to the students, those are the main ways that we need parent and caregiver involvement there. That is a huge help. The most helpful thing, and the thing that we ask all parents to help with if they can, if they have availability at all on these dates that we're competing, is judging. And we'll talk a little bit more about what this looks like here in a moment. But we ask that all parents and caregivers of student competitors judge as at least 2 tournaments during the season. If you want to do more, that's phenomenal. A lot of our parents find that they really enjoy it and come again and again and again. But what we don't want is the same people being tapped constantly, where it's a chore and a burden on them. Your participation allows our students to compete. So let's talk about the basics of judging at speech and debate tournaments. So when you sign up to judge, you'll get information from me with all the details about the tournament and what you need to know and all of those things. So I'm giving a broad overview here, but understand that as we get closer to an actual tournament where you're going to judge, you're going to get a lot more information, okay? So don't worry about not knowing what to do. At an average tournament, you'll judge per about 4 rounds. Typically, you'll judge multiple different events. Most of our tournaments that we travel to are either speech or debate, but occasionally there are there are a couple during the year that have both speech and debate, and you could judge either. Your job as a judge is pretty simple. On the speech side, you're listening to all of the speakers, and you're deciding who is best. On the debate side, you're doing something very similar. You're listening to the arguments that were presented, and you're deciding which side convinced you best. And that's really all that there is to it. There's lots of things that you can do to be a super great judge that we'll talk about and that you'll hear, that you'll get information on. But the basics are, if you're listening and deciding, you're doing your job. That term judge can throw some people off. I want you to think of it more as like a jury, right? When you're called in for jury duty, you're not the expert. You're not expected to be the expert in the law. You're not expected to be an expert on any of the information on the case. Your job is to listen and decide, right? It's the same thing here with judging at a speech and debate tournament. After each round, you're going to vote for one side or the other if it's debate, or you're going to rank each speaker if it's speech using a ballot. And usually that's an online ballot, and we will show you how to use those. As I mentioned before, there's 5 different debate events, up to 10 different speech events that you may be asked to judge. And when you see that number, that should tell you, right, that it would be impossible to expect anyone to be an expert in any or all of those events. So that's not the expectation. The expectation is simply that you listen and decide, like we said. Our judge packet that I provide for you and the various resources that you'll receive when you sign up to judge will give you the background that you need to be confident that you know the basics of what you're looking for in a particular round. Ultimately, it is the student's responsibility to communicate effectively to you and to convince you, let's say it's debate, to convince you that their side won. Whichever side did a better job of that wins, because that's their job, right, is to convince you. Same thing on the speech side. Their job is to give you a performance that's worthy of that highest rank. And if you think that they gave the best speech in that round, then you'll rank them first. If you think they gave the third best speech, then you'll rank them third. And their job, again, is to provide a performance or a speech that's going to earn the highest the highest rank that they can. So like I said, lots more information coming. If you're available to judge, you'll get that later on. For now, let's take a look at our upcoming events. I just want to reassure you again before we do that you are qualified to judge. And ultimately, we cannot do, from a practical standpoint, right? We can't take more than a certain number. We have to have a certain number of judges that is in ratio to the certain number of students that we take to a tournament. So the more judges we bring, the more students can participate. And the only reason why a student might not be able to compete at a tournament is if we don't have enough judges. So your judging not only allows your child to compete and ensures that they'll be able to compete, but also multiple other students as well. And so we thank you in advance for your willingness to judge. All right, let's talk about some upcoming events. This is our sort of season at a glance. I want to draw your attention before we look at any of these dates to 2 things. First is the word tentative. For the most part, this is our set calendar, but I will highlight a couple in here where it might move around a little bit. But my goal always each year is to make it less and less tentative, but it just depends on when other coaches get their tournaments on the calendar and things like that. The other thing I want to highlight is what you see there where it says check our website for the most up-to-date calendar. I put together a Google Calendar for our team where I put all of the tournaments in there. It has the most up-to-date information that we have about those tournaments, and you can find on our website, carmelspeechanddebate.com. If you go to the Tournaments tab and scroll down, you'll see the calendar there. And that calendar will always be the most up-to-date version. If you ever see a conflict between some piece of information that you receive or that you have, or this tentative calendar right here, and that calendar on our website, reach out to me so that we can get, in case you have a question there. But that way, it's always up-to-date, can be updated. There's even a link in there for you to add that calendar, that Google Calendar, to your own calendar so you can automatically see those updates there. All right, and this is one of the reasons why I say tentative. September 20th right now, tentatively, so just 10 days from now, is the where we have our currently scheduled our CHS Intra-Squad Novice Tournament. This is essentially just, I'll say more about this later, so I won't belabor it now. But we are considering moving this date. There's the next tournament on our calendar, October 11th at Butler University, was previously scheduled for the week before that, October 4th. And so now that that date is opened up, we're considering pushing that intra-squad tournament to that October 4th date, but we haven't finalized that yet. So I'll give you that September 20th date for now, with the caveat that that might get pushed back, okay? So I just want to put that on your radar. But our first travel tournament then is October 11th at Butler University. That is a debate only tournament there. You'll notice that I've highlighted whether a tournament is speech or debate or both on here. The next one would be October 11th. Debate will be traveling to Munster High School. Speech will be traveling to Northrop High School to compete. November 5th, or 1st rather, then is the next speech tournament. That'll be at Vincennes University down in the southern part of the state. So again, that's just speech only. November 8th at Penn High School. Penn is is the current runner-up in the state for debate. Really strong program there. They always host a phenomenal tournament, so we're excited to head there in November. Then November 15th, we're back closer to home at Avon High School. This one is both speech and debate. Avon also has a really strong speech program and a solid debate program as well, and does a great job hosting tournaments, so we're excited about that one. And then the next one that we have tentatively on the calendar for debate is December 13th at Bloomington South. Now, we always try to get in a couple more tournaments in December and early December and early January, so kind of either side of winter break there. Right now, the only one on the calendar in early December for debate is Bloomington South, so we are putting that on there tentatively for now, but keep in mind that we might add another tournament earlier in December or go to a different place on the 13th. But what is confirmed is that speech will be traveling up to Munster High School for a speech tournament on the 13th. That is confirmed. January 10th, then, back to ones that we've confirmed. Ben Davis High School, both speech and debate will be competing there. And then January 17th, this is another one here. You'll notice it's not bolded, which means that for debate, this isn't finalized. Again, trying to get some other tournaments in there. We might do one even earlier in January. On that January, I want to say January 3rd, if somebody adds a tournament there, or that January 17th date, we might swap out for a different tournament. If there's one that we think will be more helpful for our students than Rushville, then we'll do that. But speech for sure will be heading up to Fort Wayne at Fort Wayne Dwenger High School for a speech competition. And then the January 24th is our district debate tournament. That is the national qualifying tournament that I mentioned earlier. That will be hosted here at Carmel High School. Oh no, there's a big one that I left off of here. I'm so sorry about that. I'll try to update that before I send out the slides. You know what? I'll do it right now before I forget it, and so that you can see it here. And that is, let me look at the dates just to confirm. Of course, this is so unprofessional. I apologize. Okay, so on January 3rd, no, 2025. There we go. January 20. No, that can't be right. It's got to be the 31st. Oh, that's 2025. That's why. Okay, here we go. So sorry. All right, so January 2026. This must be so painful for you to watch. I apologize. The 30th and the 31st. That is the state debate tournament. So I'll add that here. So January 30th. I'll do Jan 30 through the 31st. This is our only tournament that is spanning multiple days, okay, besides nationals. And so that's a Friday, basically the end of the school day, so we'll leave school a little bit early, and then head to wherever that's going to be held. That location is TBA, at least for now. So that state debate tournament, that's January 30th through the 31st. That's going to be those 2 days there. All right, so pulling those back up and throwing this over out of the way. Okay, forgive me. Sorry about that. But I wanted to make sure you have that state debate tournament there as well. State and districts are the only competitions where we have a limited roster, meaning that students have to qualify essentially for those to earn a roster spot on those. We'll talk more about that as we get closer to it, but just be aware of that as we get closer. We take a lot of things into account for that, not just their competitive success at tournaments, but how much they've been able to compete throughout the season, their success certainly at those competitions, but also the work that they've been putting in practice and their success in mock debates or practice debates against teammates and others that they're competing for those spots for. Okay, so that wraps up January, the end of January, that wraps up the debate season. The speech season, though, continues into February and March. Okay, so February 7th, Southport for speech. February 21st, speech will travel to Columbus East. February 28th, speech sectionals. This is essentially the qualifier for the state tournament, so the top placers at the sectional tournament will go on to state, which would be a couple of weeks after that. So not sure the location for that yet. And then the next week, March 7th, is the district speech tournament. So that, just like with debate, is the national qualifier tournament. So that's where students would compete to earn a spot on the to nationals. The top two in each category, or each event, I should say, earn a spot at nationals. Again, that location TBA for now. March 14th is the state speech tournament. Again, students who qualified at sectionals can attend that and compete there. Again, location is TBA on that. The only other thing would be over the summer. If your student qualified, if your child qualified at either speech or debate districts, then they can compete at the National Speech and Debate Tournament, which is June 13th through the 20th. We would leave likely on the 13th and return on the 20th, most likely those 2 Saturdays there. Again, both speech and debate there. And this year that is in Richmond, Virginia, so we'd be flying out there for that. Obviously, a lot more information will come your way if your child qualifies for nationals. Now, you saw the very first event that I put on that calendar there is our CHS Intra-Squad Speech and Debate Tournament. So again, this date right here is the current date, but again, it might get pushed back to October 4th, but for now, we'll say Saturday, September 20th. The time would be about the same, though, about 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and that's here at Carmel High School, and it is Carmel students only. So they're not competing from people from other schools. They're just competing against their teammates there for practice. All right, and that's here in the CHS Media Center, so a location that they're already familiar with, where we hold our practices and things like that. We would hold 3 to 4 rounds of speech and debate. Debate, it would be each of the individual events that we offer, all 5. Speech will probably break down into those kind of 3 broad categories that we mentioned earlier. We'll have a public address category, we'll have a interp category, and we might have a limited prep category, just depending. It would be more impromptu speaking, okay, would be what we'd see there. So that's kind of the format for that. You are encouraged, if I was talking about judging earlier and you were feeling a little bit uneasy and you just would like an opportunity to see what a day, what a tournament generally kind of looks like and what goes into judging and all those things, this is a wonderful opportunity for you to see that firsthand. You are encouraged to come and observe. We will not make you judge at this unless you want to. But what we will do is pair you with a veteran competitor who will be judging at the tournament. Our veterans serve as judges at this tournament. And this is a novice. I should have mentioned this earlier. So this would be for novices or first-year competitors to participate in this. So the competitors, it's their first time competing, at least in the high school level, I should say. And our veteran members serve as judges. So they're giving feedback and things like that. We'll pair you with one of them so that you can see what the online ballots look like, what they're looking for as far as information and things like that. So why are we doing this? Well, first is giving students that experience heading into the competition season in a much more low-stakes environment. So before they have to worry about getting on a bus and traveling someplace and meeting people from other schools and being in an unfamiliar environment, We want them to get the gist of what a tournament is generally like through that practice there. It's also practice for judges as stakes are low, and this would, I mean, like our parent judges. Again, we wouldn't make you judge, but you'd get an opportunity to get a sense of how the rounds work, see how veteran debaters judge and what sort of feedback they provide, what sort of things they're looking for, and crucially getting practice using those online ballots, which can sometimes be the trickiest part for people, is just understanding the practical, how do I do this? The ballots are not complicated, okay, but having some experience and seeing them before can be helpful. Ultimately, we're doing this because we're here to help, right? While you're here, ask us questions. This is a learning event both for the students and the parents and caregivers that are there to help assist just by learning and seeing how it's done and just absorbing things there. Thank you so much for watching this video and for your good attention to it. I want to point you to some additional resources here. Again, you'll have these slides in the email that I sent you that you got this video with. The first thing I'll highlight is that Google form at the top. Please, please, please complete that form tonight or today, whenever you're watching this video. The earlier we can get that information to us about best ways to contact you, your possible ways that you can be involved in things like that, the better. So if you could complete that form as soon as possible, that would be wonderful. I'll direct you to our website, carmelspeechanddebate.com, and some of our judging resources are there under the judging tab, so you can go to carmelspeechanddebate.com/judge. For more resources there and information, including that judge packet that I mentioned earlier. Again, I will send that out to you as well with updated information before your first tournament. One thing that I should mention here is that all volunteers, whether you're a judge, whether you're helping with district tournament, whatever it is that you're doing, that you're a part of, our district, Carmel Clay Schools, requires that you complete the volunteer information and background check, and I've linked that there. There's also a link to it on our website as well. I believe that there's a cost to that. It might be $20, might be $25, might be $50. If that cost is prohibitive to you, if that is the thing that would keep you from being able or wanting to judge or otherwise help out throughout the year, please let us know. We're happy to cover that for you so that you don't have to, so that that's not a financial barrier there. I should mention that also with the dues. I should have mentioned this earlier. One of the things that went home with students in this last practice is their code of conduct, field trip permission form, and dues form, and walking you through some of the information there. And one of the things that you'll see on there is a form that students can complete to have their dues waived, so that if those $50 dues present a significant financial burden, again, we do not want the dues to be the thing that keeps a student from being able, that otherwise wants to compete, from being able to compete. We don't want that. And so if students are willing to commit to a level of involvement that would allow us to waive those dues, then we're happy to do that. So students can apply to have those dues waived, and we have a limited number of those scholarships then available to make that happen. For that background check, back to that, those are good for 3 years. So if you've completed one with the district within the past 3 years, then you're good there. If you have a question as to whether or not you've already completed that, reach out to me and I can check. Next, our season tournament calendar. You heard me mention that earlier. Link to that on our website, and even a link there to add it to your own Google Calendar. If you really want to dive deep onto judging and some of the different trainings and things that are available to you on how to be an excellent judge, the National Speech and Debate Association, NSDA, provides a lot of great video resources and trainings, and you can even earn specific certificates and things like that by completing those trainings. So if that's something you want to dive into, you're more than welcome to do that on the National Speech and Debate Association website. You just create a free account and can access those trainings for free. There's also just a playlist of different judge training videos to give you a general overview there. And if you are a super nerd and really want to know all the different rules that we use here in Indiana in the tournament manual, there's a link to that there as well. Finally, just a reminder about that parent caregiver form that I mentioned a couple of slides ago. You can scan that QR code, enter that URL there, or click on the link in the slides that you've been sent to complete that form. The sooner you get that done, the better. Thank you so much for being with us here and watching this video, and for investing in your child in this opportunity for truly an activity that will change their life if they put things into it. And we're here to help. Okay, any way that we can assist and can serve you, that's what we're here for. Thank you in advance for your willingness to participate and to help make this activity possible through judging and volunteering and all of those different things. If you have any questions, reach out to me via email, and I'd be happy to answer those for you. Thank you so much, and we will see you at our first tournament here coming up soon. Thanks so much.